Ryan Holiday is a strategy and a writer who dropped out of college at 19 to apprentice under Robert Greene, author of the 48 Laws of Power. He became the youngest executive at a Beverly Hills talent management agency, then joined American Apparel at 21, and quickly became director of marketing. At 25, he published his first best-selling book. At the eyes of everyone, he was the kid who was going places. With all that, he quickly learned that with success comes the temptation to tell oneself a story, to round off the edges, to cut out unlucky breaks and add a certain mythology to it all. It's a type of storytelling in which eventually your talent and accomplishment become your identity. In his book, Holiday aims to help readers be less invested in the stories they tell about their own specialness, and as a result, liberated to achieve the work they have set out to achieve. In fact, many of us wrongly think that the main impediment to a full, successful life is the outside world. Instead, the most common enemy lies within, our ego. Ego is an unhealthy belief in our own importance. Arrogance, self-centered ambition. It's that petulant child inside every person, the one that chooses getting his or her way over anything or anyone else. The need to be better than something or someone far past any reasonable utility, that's ego. It's the sense of superiority and certainty that exceeds the bounds of confidence and talent. Most of us aren't egomaniacs, but ego is there at the root of almost every conceivable problem or obstacle. From why we can't win, to why we need to win all the time. From why we don't have what we want, to why having what we want doesn't seem to make us feel any better. Because of all this, Holiday breaks down the journey to success and explains why ego is the enemy along every step of the way. Everything starts with aspiration. Here we are setting out to do something. We have a goal, a calling, a new beginning. Yet far too many of us never reach our intended destination. Ego, more often than not, is the culprit. This is because our cultural values almost try to make us dependent on validation, entitled, and ruled by our emotions. All around, your parents, teachers, gurus, and public figures assure you that you can do whatever you set your minds to. In reality, this makes you weak. You take it for granted that you have a promise. Ego makes it hard for you to evaluate your own abilities, and without this skill, improvement is impossible. That is why when you are aspiring to something, you must practice seeing yourself with a little distance, cultivating the ability to get out of your own head. Detachment is a sort of natural ego antidote. It's easy to be emotionally invested and infatuated with your own work. Every narcissist can do that. What is rare is not raw talent, skill, or even confidence, but humility, diligence, and self-awareness. Facts are better than dreams, as Churchill put it. And yet, ego tempts us to replace action with talk and hype. Ego wants us to do the fun stuff, the stuff that gets attention, credit, or glory. Doing great work is difficult, but talking is always easy. And that's what's so insidious. Anyone can talk about himself or herself. What is scarce and rare is actually silence. The ability to deliberately keep yourself out of the conversation and subsist without its validation. Silence is the respite of the confident and the strong. It's the confident and the strong who work quietly in the corner, ignoring the impulse to seek recognition before they act. They are too busy doing great work to do anything else. When they do talk, it's earned. So remember that the only relationship between work and chatter is that one kills the other, and that eventually, actions will always speak louder than words. Now, if you reserve your energy to action rather than words, you might at one point find yourself at the top of a mountain you worked hard to climb. Or at least, you see the summit in sight. And as success arrives, ego wants you to think that you are special. You are better. The rules don't apply to you. Ego begins to toy with your mind and weaken the will that made you win in the first place. Without the right values, success is brief and intoxicating. Each victory and advancement will bump you against new situations that you have never encountered before, just like a chef turned restaurateur must learn how to run the other side of the house. It takes a special kind of humility to grasp that you know less, even as you know and grasp more and more. No matter what you have done up to this point, you better still be a student. Instead, ego doesn't want you to be challenged to learn, or reconsider what you already know. It wants you to stay in a comfort zone, convinced of your own intelligence, ensuring that you never feel stupid not knowing. Most people don't like to think that there's much left to learn, or that others are better than them, and this prevents them from getting any better. However, if you're not still learning, you're already dying. It is not enough only to be a student at the beginning, it is a position that one has to assume for life. Another dangerous vice that ego tricks us into when reaching success is building our own narrative. We want so desperately to believe that those who have great empires set out to build one so we can indulge in the pleasurable planning of ours, so we can take full credit for the good that happens and the riches and respect that come our way. Narrative is when you look back at an improbable or unlikely path to your success and say, "I knew it all along," instead of, "I hoped, I worked, I got some good breaks." Of course, you didn't really know all along, or if you did, it was more faith than knowledge. But who wants to remember all the times you doubted yourself? Writing your own narrative leads to arrogance. It turns your life into a story while you still have to live it. Now more than ever, our culture fans the flames of ego. It's never been easier to talk, to puff ourselves up. Therefore, instead of pretending that you are living some great story, you must remain focused on the execution, and on executing with excellence. You must shun the false crown, and continue working on what got you there. Ego is stolen. Confidence is earned. So whatever is next for you, remember that every day of your life, you will find yourself either aspiring to something, experience success, or failing. Wherever you are, ego will scream for people to acknowledge you. You must play the game and ignore the noise. Replace the temptations of ego with humility, and discipline, and fortitude, so you can be humble in your aspirations, gracious in your success, and resilient in your failures. Now, thanks for watching High Living, and see you next time for more practical tips on how to level up your life.